All right, let's move on to Tremors 4: The Legend Begins. I had not seen this one. After watching it this time, I thought maybe I had seen it, maybe I'd seen scenes. No, nothing. I just never saw this one. Okay, so this is the same director as 2, and I preferred 2 over 3, so I was kind of hoping that this one would be better than 3. I liked 3, but I will have to say I watched 5 as well back to back with this one, and I will be watching 6 as soon as I finish these reviews. This is my least favorite of the series so far. Unless 6 overtakes it, for now, this is my least favorite. I liked it. I liked it. I definitely did not really like it, or even anywhere near love it. It felt like it was made for television. Like, it felt like an episode of the TV show or something. Like, you ever watch a show where, I think Northern Exposure did this once, and I feel like a few shows have done it, but I want to say Northern Exposure is that one show that off my memory, where they do like a flashback. I've watched a few shows where they do this, but they do like 100 years ago, and they have the exact same actors from the series playing roles of people in like the Old West or something. You know what I'm talking about if you've seen it in any one of your favorite shows. They're not their characters. They're completely different characters, but they're playing new roles there. But yeah, that's what it felt like, but like total like late 90s made for TV movie. And it really weighed on me. It weighed on my experience. I try to look past that stuff, but this one was easily the most family friendly. And I want to say that this one was PG-13 and the one before it was PG. This one was much lighter than the last one, in my opinion. We get Billy Drago in this one, which was kind of cool to see as the gunslinger, like Black Hand Bart or something. I was pretty surprised by his quick demise. I was not expecting that. When he died, I was like, he's gonna come out. He's gonna, like Bert in the, little canister there or whatever that he was in, and he was able to get himself out, whatever. Nope, just gone, dead, adios. It's like, there's the gunslinger that you hired, and he's already dead. So yeah. All right, so this one takes place in 1889. I like the idea of this because we don't get much period piece horror, and I love the idea of Old West horror especially. I've seen a decent amount of it, but nowhere near enough. Like, I should say, I've seen a decent amount of what there is out there to offer, but that's not much. So I guess I should retract that and say I haven't seen a decent amount because there isn't really a decent amount available, but of what is available, I have seen a decent amount of it. And I like the setting because that eliminates everything. When you do period pieces now to try to eliminate cell phones and whatnot, like if you go back to the Wild West, you're eliminating everything. Anything you can imagine. Buildings, doesn't matter. Like, yes, of course there were buildings in them, but out in, those long stretches where there were nothing, if you can encounter a monster, if you encounter anything out there, there is nothing to run to. There is no help. There is no, calling for an ambulance. There's no police. There's no, as I said, there's no buildings. There's nothing. There's nowhere to run. You just kind of got to take them head on. But people were way tougher back then. This is something I talk about all the time. I talked about this in my Blair Witch review. Like, you watch a movie like The Witch, and these guys are banished from their little freaking province there, and they go out into the woods, and it's like a year later, and they've built a home, and they have like a little coop with like chickens, and they have like another little area to store stuff. This is what they did. They were thrown out in the woods with nothing, and they built a house. And these kids in the Blair Witch Project, they're out there for like freaking 3 days, and they're just like, oh my god, we're gonna die, we're screwed. And it's like civilization is right there, like pretty close, and these guys can't do anything about it. They're gonna freaking die of exposure. They're gonna die of the elements. They're gonna die. Like, it's funny. It's just, we're so pathetic now. We don't know what the hell to do. If God forbid, all of a sudden the electricity went out, just out of nowhere. I've always said, man, people watch these doomsday type scenario movies where everyone's scared and you know, there's riots and people start killing each other and like half the population's dead in like a week. Some people are like, oh man, I think that's just, you know, I think that that's exaggerated. I don't think it would be that fast. And I'm like, I'm with you. I don't think it would be that fast. I think it would be faster. I think we'd fall apart even faster than that. As soon as you scared the shits, I like the way he says it in The Mist the best. He's like, I'm going to paraphrase, of course, here, but he says something along the lines of, you know, you think you lived in a civilized society, but you cut off the electricity, put people in the dark, and scare the shit out of them, and you'll see how freaking like primitive they'll become. I paraphrase that really hard, but it's, you know, same message, and it's always stuck with me. All right, so this is Rejection instead of Perfection. Obviously, they changed the name at the end of the movie. I thought that was cute. We got the Chang's Market here, the original Chang's Market. So they've been there since the late 1800s, which I thought was really cool. And then we find Hiram Gummer, who is this you know, tycoon guy, and we find out later in the movie that he's actually lost everything because his dad made a terrible deal by putting every bit of his estate and all of his money and everything into this silver mine. And so he's kind of stuck there. This is it. He's got like a $20 piece and like a freaking $50 gold watch or something. That's like all he has to his damn name. And I guess he put every other dollar he had into getting out there. But Hiram is actually a pacifist. He is not into weapons. He's not into fighting. He's not anything. And I think that is kind of an obvious choice here. But I do like his arc throughout because he's like, I don't like guns. I don't want to touch them. I don't want anything. And I know, as I said, it's kind of an obvious arc to do with his character. I don't care. But I just like to watch him kind of like no on guns, then gets them, and then is okay with them. And then at the end, he's like absolutely, and he's turning the crank. And he's just loving it. He's freaking out. And it's just like filling his DNA full of gun love to pass down to his little brood. This reminds me, and it's funny because I was writing this down and I was like, this reminds me of something like the Back to the Future 3, the Back to the Future franchise with Part 3. And when I clicked off of the thing, right below it says customers also watched, and Back to the Future Part 3 was the first suggestion. So that was pretty funny. And I'm sure that Michael Gross here was really excited for this because, you know, Burt Gummer is a cool character, but, you know, he's one-dimensional. He's the same guy all the time, as any character pretty much would be. Not that all characters are one-dimensional, but they have a specific feel to them. And so he gets to play a completely different character. I mean, this is like this well-spoken gentleman freaking... And I love it. I love that he kind of gets to embody that role, and I feel like he does a good job. Though, as I said, it does feel very made for TV, and as does everyone's acting in this kind of following suit. But regardless, I did like to kind of see him playing this hoity-toity asshole. He's an asshole. He's a total piece of shit in the beginning, and he has this arc where he becomes a better person, which is great. But he like swindles a kid, offers him a piece of his cake, and when the kid goes to fetch something for him, you know, kind of under the thought process that he's going to be getting that cake, and then he eats it when he's there, and the chick gets all pissed off at him, and of course that chick ends up becoming his wife, I would at least suspect. They get together and they ride it out. So the Gummer family has been there in Rejection Perfection for a while. And I guess he just kind of comes back because he left and came back, and he left and he came back, but he always comes back. Oh, man. And then he tries to ride a bike out to this place that's like miles away. What the hell was he thinking? The chain breaks in like half a second. And then we get little baby graboids in this. We kind of work on the origins of the graboids a little bit in this one, as they did in the other one. So I like that they expand on the mythology, the lore, or whatnot in every one of these, and they do so in the fifth one as well. And okay, so a lot of these are jumpers in this one. So they're like smaller and they can jump across, and like people are getting picked off right and left, but they still get up on the rocks in this one. And I don't get that because they're like, stay up on the rocks, stay up on the rocks. And it's like, but they can still jump across these ones. So I don't even know why. I mean, yeah, you're staying away from the major graboid, which in this one they refer to them as sand dragons, which actually makes a lot of sense. Especially if one was an ass blaster, it would be like a dragon in reverse. It'd be like a dragon with really bad indigestion after a freaking burrito at Taco Bell. So yeah, I thought that was odd that they saw that these things were jumping across at killing people, and they still decided to get up on rocks and think that out in the open like that they'd be protected. I don't get that one. So Hiram is bonding with the kid in this movie. He's kind of turning over a new leaf, and you know, it's fine. It's typical. And yeah, we talked about that. And I like that these. Yeah, I mean, I always feel like once you shoot off the tentacles in this thing, it's like outside of just kind of grabbing you, it can't pull you in, so it'd have to like come up and grab onto you or snap into you. So it's at a serious disadvantage once one of those is dead. And I keep looking at those things, and much like a xenomorph, I have to wonder, like, do those also need to be fed, or does the graboid's body feed them kind of like veins, and those mouths don't actually, like, what does it do? Like, spit it out into its mouth after it's chewed up a little bit? Like, it kind of grabs and latches and pulls them back in, and if it like bites anything off, does it digest it into, like, does that connect to the big stomach inside? I don't know. Overthinking things. The punt gun. So he brings back a punt gun, and I thought it was a joke. I thought that thing was, there's no way that this is good. It looks like a doll holding a real gun, like a real rifle. If you were to put like a Barbie and put like a freaking, you know, a rifle, you know, and it's next to it, that's how big this damn gun is. The trigger is like this big, but I looked it up. I googled the damn thing, and there's pictures, like black and white pictures of these guys with like one on their shoulder as their guys holding the trigger, holding this gun up, and it's 10 feet long, 12 feet long, just the most absurd gun I've ever seen in my damn life. And I was laughing at it when I looked it up. I was like, oh, that actually exists. Holy shit, really? And yeah, the one-shot kill with the punt gun. Holy hell, man, that thing really obliterates one of them. But then the next one, because these things they learn quick. I don't know how the hell this thing would learn, not having the sight, so I don't know how it knew that this was the gun that could kill one of its kind, but it comes up and it takes it under the earth with it, gets it away from him. And then, so the kid gets latched onto, and they use the tractor to pull this thing across, and they were making a bomb, but the bomb never came into play. I don't know if I've ever seen that in a movie before, where they're like putting together some big finishing thing, and then they never use it. Unless I do miss things here and there, but like this guy's making a bomb over there and it just never goes off. So I was like, oh, they're just gonna ignore that. Usually when they introduce something in a movie, they always use it, even if it's later on, even if it's like after the credits, something. But this one isn't used. And then, okay, so the kid gets latched onto, as I said, as they're pulling it into the tractor, and it rips the tentacle off versus the kid's arm. Bullshit. We know that ain't true, because a Valentine's truck was like ripping and driving, and it was like lifting the whole truck up, and finally threw it into fourth gear and pinned it, and boom, it ripped off after that much pull. That kid's arm would have been ripped off. And if this movie had any balls, it would have ripped his damn arm off. But it was kind of stuck around a little bit of metal too, but it was mostly on his arm. I feel like it should have yanked his whole arm off. That would have been rad. And then, yeah, they rename the town, and everybody gets something from his silver mine, or at least he promises that they will. And they make a pact to never tell anybody, which I'm glad they address, because I'm sitting there going, wait, why don't people know about these things? But they address that. Thank you, thank you. And as I said, he gets his love of guns. So overall, meh, it was fine. It was okay, but the worst edition in this series. Teddy Brown disagrees with me. He says it's 3. I think he's crazy. I think 3 is considerably better than this, but you know, we disagree on plenty anyway, so there you go. All right, let's move on.